I thought I was done with the whole Graham Platner thing. My main reason for covering it was not so much that, it's important at all, that there was the American, election that I cared about or anything, or that even Graham Platner specifically, it was the reaction to him that really is what I want to talk about. The callous way that Americans whitewash their military and the people who participated in it, what they did, especially when they're not even repentant for it. They haven't atoned in any way, shape, or form. But people are still doing propaganda for the Graham Platner campaign, which is bad enough on its own. Even getting rid of that element of the whitewashing of the American military that's necessarily involved in doing that, and it's genocidal murderers. It's also bad because Graham Platner, as I've gone over multiple times on this channel, is basically an op. Not like literally an intelligence agency op, but an op of the Democratic Party. Fight agency. I've gone over it before. If you want more info on this specifically, I have a short little video where I talk about it called Beware Fight Agency Democrat Rebranding Underway. And Graham Platner is a candidate for these guys. His job as a candidate for these guys is to convince you that, the Democratic Party can be changed from within, and then if he gets elected, he's just going to become like the next Bernie Sanders or AOC. Or possibly even worse, honestly. That's one reason to be against this, to not whitewash this guy, to not platform him, to not give him opportunities to market himself as some sort of left-winger when he's not. He's a genocidal mass killer. But the other element is the whitewashing of the American military and the American exceptionalism, American supremacism that is involved in doing this. Now, I've gone over a ton on Graham Platner in my main channel video on the topic. I really don't like to endlessly retread the same ground, but a lot of the time I feel obliged to, because people just ignore the fact that the things that they are saying have been disproven, and they keep repeating them as if it hasn't, so I have to keep debunking them over and over. I made this long video on my main channel, Graham Platner Exposes the US Left, and I'm going to be citing this extensively here, okay? And by the way, these guys are like what remains of like the Michael Brooks Show staff, Matt Lech, and what's the other guy's name? Matt Lech, and we'll just call him the other guy, okay? It doesn't matter, it's not important. David something. That's his name, David something. And look, Michael Brooks wasn't great, looking back. What I mean by that, he was just a Bernie bro at the time. His politics weren't that well developed. He was a part of this wave of people who were like social democrats who were framed as radical leftists when they weren't. But Michael Brooks did at least have like this genuine interest in the history of imperialism and other countries that I feel like would have led him to develop politically to a degree where he wouldn't do something like this. 5 years later, he probably wouldn't be seen dead, just by virtue of the fact that he was at least intellectually curious enough to think about imperialism, to, care about other countries and American interference in them genuinely. I can't imagine he would have been seen dead 5 years later, still being a Bernie bro and doing this sort of thing. But his staff, the guys who knew him, who worked with him, apparently haven't developed that thought at all. And now they're whitewashing Graham fucking Platner. So, first thing to note here, let's check the transcript. Is there a mention of Abu Ghraib? No, there is no mention of Abu Ghraib. Graham Platner was notoriously a concentration camp guard at Abu Ghraib. He participated in defending the concentration camp from Iraqi resistance fighters who were trying to liberate the prisoners there at the concentration camp. The way that he described this, as I cited in my video on the topic, was, I loved infantry combat. It was like this kind of high-stakes game where everything you do matters and you need to make decisions under immense amounts of stress that are going to impact both your life, but more importantly, the lives of your men. Let's see what they ask him about his military service here. His supposed military service. Military. Time with military contractors. So firstly, I want to note they focus exclusively on his time as a military contractor in 2018. This is actually not as bad as what he did before that, which were 4 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, which he signed up for, specifically because, as he said here in this Reddit comment, he wanted to kill people and have an adventure. He joined up and he did so. He killed Iraqis because he thought it was fun. There was also other Reddit comments where he left, where he said the reason that he joined the military is because he had rich parents. He comes from a millionaire family, and they paid for him to go to college, to a good college, when he was 18 out of high school. But he didn't want to, so he went to backpacking around Europe on his parents' dime. And when he was there, he decided that he wanted to go to war. He wanted to go to war to kill people. He really, really wanted to kill people. He thought about joining the French Foreign Legion, but then the Iraq War broke out, and his remarks on that were that, during my time abroad, I had continued my research as to how I was going to get myself to war. I balanced between the army, the Ranger Regiment, and even flirted with the idea of running off to France to join the Legion. But the more I read, the more I felt the Marine Corps was the place for me. In February 2004, I walked into a Marine Corps recruiting office and I told the recruiter I wanted two things: the infantry and to be in Iraq within the year. Okay? And then he went to Iraq, he went back to Iraq, and then he came back from Iraq, and in his own words, he said that he, as a result of benefits from being in the military and massacring Iraqis, he got a free ride in George Washington University to, get a degree and not be a military guy anymore, not kill people anymore, but he wanted to kill people so bad, he signed up for 2 more tours, this time of Afghanistan, and then in 2018 he went back to Afghanistan as a Blackwater contractor, okay? I want you to remember that as we go over this. They just ignore this completely. It's not mentioned. They focus only on the Blackwater and they give him a softball question on that and they let him lie about it with no pushback, even though his lies here have been known to be lies for more than a month now. I released my video on this a month ago and it was already known before that even. These are well known to be bullshit and lies.
I agree. I agree 100%. Well, Graham, I'm not going to know kind of your past and your record. And I think a lot of folks, you're fairly well known now, so I'm not going to have you go through like all of your history here. I wanted to talk to you specifically.
Well, maybe the people watching don't know. Maybe that's why. Maybe they need this context to judge him properly. But, good whitewash, good save there.
About 2018, where after you had been deployed multiple times during the global war on terror, you were...
Man, what a... Do you really? Who calls it the global war on terror? Are you guys fucking kidding me?
Turned to Afghanistan as part of as a military contractor. And I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about that work, how long you were there, what that experience was like, and also just your general opinion on like the United States government and its relationship with military contractors.
Yeah, so I moved back to Maine in 2016 and had no idea what I was doing with my life. I had been in D.C. for a few years, going to school.
He was like a 30-year-old man at this time, by the way.
When I left the service, I had this fantasy. I was going to get a college degree. I was going to maybe go work for an intelligence service, something like that.
He did 4 tours, and he left, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to get a degree, not to like become a normal civilian and not kill people anymore. I'm going to join the fucking CIA or something. He just throws this out there like it's normal, and there's no pushback. That's a new one, too. I haven't heard him say that one before. Wow.
Like that. Being in DC for 4 years, that I stopped wanting to do that.
You could have studied anything, dude. You had a free ride at university. You could have studied fucking anything. You chose the intelligence services.
Put it that way. But then I didn't know what to do. I mean, I really I'd seen myself as a professional soldier.
They should be reacting to this by saying, this guy's psychopathic. Listen to this shit.
I'd become very disillusioned with the wars that I had fought in, but also didn't know what else to do.
I was disillusioned with the 4 fucking times I'd gone to massacre people. That's why I signed up to go back again. I didn't know what else to do. What else was I supposed to do? It's my right as a white American to go and kill brown people for fun.
Obvious skill sets.
They're nodding at this like they just understand it. It doesn't require a pushback. You guys are supposed to be your left reckoning. You are the inheritors of the legacy of Michael Brooks? I hope not.
I mean, I was a machine gun. I was in the infantry and I was a reconnaissance guy. So, sadly, those things don't really translate easily to the civilian world.
You were in university. You had the opportunity to study for free. You had a free ride to study anything you wanted, and you chose to drop out and go back.
And I'd come back to Maine, didn't really know what to do with myself, and my former platoon sergeant from Fallujah.
He's framing himself as the victim here, and they're just nodding along with it. There's no pushback at all. And here he whitewashes Blackwater, which is Constellus.
Applied and got hired a company called Constellus, which, this is a whole other story, but Constellus had essentially bought up all the contract companies. The story of corporate consolidation extends all the way to the U.S. Department of State and its high-threat security operations. Back in the mid-2000s, there were a bunch of these groups, all started by former special operations guys.
Does he even mention Blackwater? Is the word Blackwater mentioned here? Oh my God, there's no mention of Blackwater. They sure don't want you to know that Constellus is Blackwater. I mean, not that it matters. Not that like another American mercenary company would be better. Not that working for a mercenary company is better than actually working for the military and killing people directly for the military. So like the very first line on the Blackwater Wikipedia page is Constellus, formerly Blackwater. There's no challenge here. There's nothing. They just let him talk. At no point is there any interruption. This isn't journalism. This is propaganda. This is pure puff piece propaganda for a Democratic Party op. Already a bad fucking thing. Already a terrible thing to be doing. But also for the American empire. Someone who watches this guy, who, by the way, encourages people to join the American military, Graham Platner, importantly, it is incredibly important to note, in his policy platform, wants to give better wages to American troops. He wants to raise wages for American soldiers to encourage people to join, to what he calls close the recruiting gap, okay? So this guy's not against joining the military at all. These people, like, watching them, you would think people would think, like, this is awesome. This sounds fine, actually. You know, there's nothing wrong with me joining. There's no pushback here. Why don't I join myself? These people aren't anti-imperialists at all. This is fucking gross, man. I hate it. Oh, everyone just ignores that they've been debunked already, and they just keep saying the same fucking shit. It's a good strategy, honestly. But the only way that we can stop this, I mean, it would be good if they, like, engage, if they acknowledge that they were wrong, but they don't want to do that because they have a imperialist political agenda. They have American chauvinist political agenda.
Bunch of different companies, and they were all vying for these contracts. Over time, those companies were bought and sold.
This is even worse than the Ryan Grimm interview. At least they mentioned Blackwater then. There's no mention of Blackwater. He tries to frame himself as being becoming disillusioned here, right? After his stint in Afghanistan working for Blackwater. And they don't ask him any questions about this. They just ask a follow-up question.
Well, Graham, I wanted to kind of, get to this then. I mean, this is a direct experience. I mean, in a lot of ways, you've been very outspoken about, like, United States, American, like, forever wars, for example. Your perspective on, like, the reliance that this country has on, like, private defense contractors. A lot of times the government, I mean, this is my opinion, maybe doing this because it provides, like, a shield of deniability, right? The more privatized actors you have out there, it limits the kind of public oversight over American activities abroad. I'm curious, with your direct experience, even though you weren't, in combat with these defense contractors, your kind of perspective on, like, the United States relationship with defense contractors in general.
I want to note that Graham Platner's own policy platform is, like, the United States government should more directly take over weapons manufacturing and militarism and stuff. It's not anti-militarism. It's like, let's like fucking nationalize the military more. Let's nationalize more parts of it. That's not anti-imperialist. It's just, if anything, going to make things worse because obviously the government is going to be more competent than private companies at doing this sort of thing. Especially when you look at how much of a fucking train wreck Blackwater was in actual, like, effectiveness. Like, Graham Platner's policy platform, they're saying is against American militarism. His policy platform includes the term, I will work tirelessly to rebuild the American military. This is so softball.
I think that might be the case with some of the intelligence services. I will say with with State Department, we work directly for the Department of State. Like, there was no way that if we got in some kind of altercation out in town, that anybody would be able to say that we weren't who we were. I honestly, it's just theft is what that's what it is. It's just grift.
So it wouldn't be grift if they were instead paying you directly to do the same crimes from the government? Like, it's just so fucking stupid. The idea that it's worse because private companies are involved. Here he says something that he's never said before. It's not in his policy platform. Let me show you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I feel like he's just lying for the audience here. Like, he's changing what he's saying for the audience. In his policy platform, he says the exact opposite of this.
Spend a lot less money on defense in this country. Well,
I mean, that's the sort of thing, right? Is because we're spending so much money in defense, that's where people know where the money is. And that is eventually going to be people dedicating their lives to it.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I guess if the US government spends a lot of money on defense, you get to join the military because it's just where the money is. It's how these people think.
You know,
There's no
I'm
personal
curious.
responsibility at all. Everyone, like, Americans for them are basically babies who are not responsible for their own actions ever.
The Senate is, this is...
That's the only time he's ever said that. If you look at his actual policy platform, he does not say that at all. He outright says he wants to make the military more efficient. He doesn't want to reduce spending. He wants to take the money from private companies and make it to be more efficient. In his case, he will work tirelessly to rebuild the American military and close the massive shipbuilding gap, right? So he wants to redirect the funding of the military. the funding to the military, to private contractors, to like a government-led initiative to close the shipbuilding gap with China, the military shipbuilding gap and the merchant shipbuilding gap with China, to assure American imperial dominance. There's nothing in here about reducing American military spending. It's rather making things more efficient. So what he said here, he's never said before. It's not a part of his platform. He said a couple of things here that he never said before. I feel like he's becoming more adaptive, honestly. I know his campaign is watching me. They were watching me for a long time because a lot of the things that I was saying were becoming more popular, getting more widespread, and they've been trying to counteract that. So it wouldn't surprise me if I had some level of influence on this. And the reason how I know that is the second that I filtered that his brother, by the way, is a Zionist propagandist named Seth Frantzman. By the way, the Blackwater thing, just to be clear, there's a Blackwater sticker there on Graham Platner's fridge, just to show you that he conceived of himself as being a Blackwater mercenary. That guy in the middle there is Seth Frantzman, his brother. Here's Seth Frantzman with the president of Israel, Isaac Herzog, during the Gaza genocide, okay? You should be so fucking scared of who this guy really is. As I was saying, the reason why I know this is that they're watching me is the second that I posted about the Seth Frantzman link with Platner, literally within 5 minutes, Seth Frantzman had already deleted all of his posts of himself with Platner and himself with the Israeli president and such, okay?
A lot of power, even more so if, we can get you in there and get a bunch of other Senate Democrats to get...
That's all they had to say on the military stuff, I guess.
To the Senate. And you're aware of the left. There's a huge part of the left who is not going to be satisfied with you until you are actually proven as a anti-war senator.
They mention absolutely nothing that anyone has said about him. It's fucking maddening.
What is the sort of thing that you could have your eye on?
I mean, it is clawing back war powers. At this point, especially,
That's all? You think the US government has ever cared about congressional approval for wars or something? That's all? Oh my fucking God, man. Come on.
Because something that's important, you guys know this, but what's happening in Venezuela, as ridiculous as it is, this is like the Iraq war, but dumber.
Just to note, he went and joined the Iraq war voluntarily because he thought it was super awesome and wanted to kill people. So if he knew that it was dumb back then, which he does say he did, he claims he protested the Iraq war, then, he still went, didn't he? The idea that you can just rely on some written document somewhere to stop the US from doing imperial wars is fucking ridiculous.
Duties. The Constitution is pretty clear about who's supposed to make war in this country.
God, they're nodding along with this shit. It's unbelievable.
And they've, really since Vietnam, have chosen to not take part in it. So
This is not anti-imperialism. This is just American chauvinism, dude. Is there any mention here of fight agency? Nope. Any mention here of Israel?
People have been reported by people like Zaid Jilani, that she goes to Israel on a trip that was funded by AIPAC.
That is so fucking funny, knowing that Seth Frantzman, who is working on his campaign, clandestinely, I should add, goes to Israel to do propaganda for the Israeli state and meets the president of Israel. I can't believe that. I actually can't believe the audacity here. They did zero research on him, which is bad, or they know about the bad things about him and they're ignoring them, which is worse. Both of them are their own fault, though. They just keep playing a bunch of bad clips of his opponent, his potential opponent, rather. These guys, rather than grilling Graham Platner and interview Graham Platner, they play a bunch of bad clips of his opponent to support him and show how much better he is than her. Graham Platner only comes in at 28 minutes, right? So what these guys do is they give 28 minutes of pure Graham Platner glazing and context of how bad his opponent supposedly is to try and make him look better. And something you should unconditionally support just because his opponent is bad, lesser evilism. It's incredible. But I want you to know, right from Graham Platner's mouth, aside from all the other bad things that he has said, long after he was supposedly reformed and disillusioned with the American military, that he would have still been in it if they would have let him. Here is a Reddit post from November 2021, very late 2021, literally years after he claimed he was reformed, he was anti-military, he was anti-war. What did Platner say about this? What did he say about joining the Marines? He said, "If I could have just stayed in the gun section, but had the opportunity to still gain promotions, at least in relation to pay, I would likely still be in the Marine Corps. If my fellow machine gunners were NCOs, or at least an equivalent pay grade that allowed men to spend significantly longer periods in roles we currently allot to the kids, that means combat roles, I would still be in the U.S. military." Graham Platner's problem with the U.S. military is not that it massacres people, it's not that it ruins people's countries. Graham Platner's problem with the U.S. military is actually the opposite of that. That eventually, they promote the soldiers out of combat roles, and they don't let them fight anymore. But Graham Platner wanted to get pay raises while still directly killing people himself as a machine gunner. That is the level of psychopathy that he operated on. They want you to believe this guy is anti-war, that he was reformed. Took him 5 fucking tours in 20 years to be reformed, but he finally managed it. No, he would still be there right fucking now if they would let him. For him, the fact that eventually they take him out of combat and make him like an officer on, behind the front lines doing logistics or whatever, that's a negative. He wants to fucking kill brown people. And Americans are okay with this. The Left Reckoning podcast is fine with that. They don't mind at all. Like, if these are American anti-imperialists, then there's no American anti-imperialists of any, real meaningful respect then. Because this is dire. They can never stand on business for anything. The second that they see some sort of potential conflict with anti-imperialism and what they see as their own interests, they drop it immediately. It's a great opportunity to grill this guy, to expose him, and to highlight the evils of the American military, and indeed the people who sign up to it, and discourage people from ever joining, ever even coming close to joining, and exposing the Democratic Party entry is grift. But instead, they literally just give him a full-on glaze session that it would not surprise me if that they were paid for. I would not be surprised if they were paid for his campaign for this. Honestly, check out the FEC filings in the future. I wouldn't be surprised to see some disbursements from them to Hassan Piker, Left Reckoning, Breaking Points, these other places, because they've been so soft on him. And yeah, it probably is just mostly that. They are American chauvinists, fake anti-imperialists, not really anti-Zionists. They're all talk, no bite. When it comes down to it, they just always do not live their supposed principles. But also, as is practice, the reason why they're chosen for these payments is because that's who they are. Because Fight Agency knows that these guys are reliable, and they would give Platner a softball interview because Platner is not his own guy, as I've said before. Platner is a Fight Agency cutout. He does what they want him to do. They tell him what to say, what to do. They give him talking points. So yeah, it's so fucking pathetic. This is happening months after he was already exposed for what he really is. And it is not at all a good indication for the largest part of the American left that they are still doing this long after the Nazi tattoo stuff, all that sort of thing. I forgot to even check. Did they ask him about the Nazi tattoo? No, the only mention of Nazi in here is in relation to something else. There is no mention of the word tattoo. It's not mentioned at all. Holy fuck. This is the softest of the softball interviews. This is the worst one I've seen yet. Holy wow. This is worse than Hassan Piker. This is worse than Breaking Points. Take a fucking bow, Left Reckoning. Take a bow, Matt Lech and David, whatever the fuck your name is. You guys have really outdone yourselves here. Honestly. Almost impressive.